Video games set in the Rocky cinematic universe are few and far between. Still, despite being average at best boxing games, they're made by fans for fans and serve as a virtual recreation of iconic moments from the legendary films. As Creed carries the torch to continue the cinematic boxing legacy, so will the video game adaptations. It wasn't long when Creed Rise to Glory transported players to a pretty cool VR boxing experience, and following its positive reception is this new game, Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions. The second official Creed video game is a little more traditional, opting for controllers instead of having to swing your fists with a VR headset on.
Hey, fool! Is he serious?
Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions is less Fight Night and more ready to rumble boxing, the latter being a nostalgic classic in the Sega Dreamcast library. Creed Champions is an arcade slugger and takes after the forgotten Dreamcast launch title in many ways, which is honestly a good thing. It may not have all the elements that make up boxing a sport, but it uses enough of them to create an enjoyable fighting game that anyone can pick up and have fun with. While it may be quite straightforward on the surface, some surprising nuances to the fighting system add variety to the gameplay. The controls are uncomplicated, with dedicated buttons for quick jabs, strong punches, grapples, dodges, blocks, and of course, the super move. These moves become second nature quite quickly, especially when the boxing combo conventions resemble Tekken rather than a typical boxing fighting game. Mixing up quick and strong punches allows you to chain up combinations that usually end on a critical strike. Executing punches while dodging can allow you to land some blindsiding hits. Fill up a special meter, and you can execute an impressive special attack, which can be dodged or blocked if timed right. There are other systems too, such as staggering opponents, bouncing them off the ropes, or even trapping them in the corner. The main objective of the fight is to knock your opponent down for the 10 count after depleting their health, and each knockout scores you a point. Between rounds, you recover a little health, deplete all 4 health meters, and you can score a total knockout. If anything, it'll almost always inevitably come down to fully depleting a health meter. When on the receiving end of a knockout, answering the 10 count involves tapping a button to fill up a gauge. It's all pretty simplistic in execution, but the more you get into it, the more you can appreciate the creativity involved in dishing out an offensive flurry. What helps with the gameplay variety is how each of the 20 boxers featured actually play differently, so it's worth diving into their moveset. The main objective to chase in the game is unlocking new characters and costumes, and this can be done by completing fights in versus mode until you're able to challenge a new fighter that you unlocked. The arcade mode serves as a story mode, and each playable character has their own path. This game is set as a side story following the events of the movie Creed 2, and to be honest, the material here isn't all that great or interesting. The most notable story mode is probably that of Rocky, as he takes a trip down memory lane and relives some of the most iconic battles. The cutscenes are presented in visual novel style, but the writing and delivery are just dry and boring. In between story fights are occasional montage minigames, and these don't do anything for the character progression as they're simply about chasing a high score. These are pretty much just rhythm-based distractions that offer a brief amusement to add some filler and variety between fights. At least you can punch some beef in the process. Creed Champions offers solid and entertaining boxing gameplay, so not having online multiplayer is disappointing, but this was obviously planned and intended. The enemy AI can be fun as you progress through the arcade mode and engage new challengers to unlock. If you happen to have the right company, the game can be quite a blast in couch multiplayer. In terms of other features, there's a training mode to practice your moves and some rin tutorials, which basically serve as the instruction manual. Complementing the arcade style gameplay are vibrant, colorful visuals, and for the most part, this is an entertaining game to watch. Still, as evident in the dry story mode presentation, Creed Champions doesn't use enough of its rich source material to bolster its presentation. Where previous Rocky video game adaptations would make use of clips and assets from movies, Creed Champions barely scratches the surface. At most, it captures the iconic soundtrack from the movie franchise, and yes, of course it has Eye of the Tiger. Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions is one for the movie fans, but it's also a fun arcade boxing game for anyone who happens to be looking for one, with a wide cast of characters to try out. While the game falls short in its presentation and gameplay modes, there's still enough here to provide a satisfying boxing challenge as you unlock new content and relive your favorite moments from the movies. Noisy Pixel is giving Big Rumble Boxing Creed Champions a 7.5 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review on noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our future content.
Noisy Pixel.